Welcome to r/slash Am I the Butthole, where a prison guard has intercourse with a 13-year-old female prisoner. Am I the butthole for telling my neighbor that the reason her son is in jail is solely his fault and not the victim's? So my neighbor's son was in the police academy, and I guess he had to do an internship at a juvenile facility. One of the inmates there was a 13-year-old girl. So apparently, this girl stripped naked to entice him, and they did it. I don't know whether they got caught or the girl told, but it was found out, and now he's in prison for unlawful sexual activity and is doing 25 to life with no chance of parole. My neighbor is saying it's the girl's fault because she enticed him and men can't control themselves. I told her that was BS. Men do have control. He was the adult, and it was his responsibility to tell her to put her clothes on and walk away. My neighbor got mad, saying men can't control that. I said, so you're saying your son has no reasoning ability and that he is no more than an animal, which is another reason he shouldn't be around a vulnerable demographic. She called me a butthole and went back to her house in tears. I told her the only buttholes in the scenario was her and her son. Her for trying to blame a child, and him for falling for it and abusing the child. My husband says he knows I was right, but I should have said nothing. As a child who was abused and blamed for it by adults, I can't. I was sexually assaulted when I was 7 by an uncle, and my mother told me that it was my fault because I enticed him by always being around. She literally brought me to his house, and she said that I should have waited outside then and nothing would have happened. So when my neighbor said that, it triggered me. My husband hugged me and said he gets it and then apologized. But part of me wonders if I'm a butthole for telling my neighbor the truth. I'd love to know the neighbor's logic here. My son can't control himself and he is basically an animal. Let's make him a cop and give him a gun and special authority and privileges. I wouldn't sweat it, OP. Who cares about the opinion of this demographic of people that starts with the letter P, a word that I can't even say on YouTube because it's that bad? So just forget them and move on, OP. I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving that guy 5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for not supporting my ex-husband and his wife after their many years of infertility? I'm in my 30s, and I have 3 children with my ex-husband Nick, who's also in his 30s. Our kids are 13, 12, and 9. We separated and divorced when our youngest was only 4 months old. We divorced because Nick confessed that he didn't love me, and he married me because I was pregnant with our oldest. He had been unable to develop any real feelings for me and couldn't pretend any longer because he felt his unhappiness was growing by the day. I bring this up because I believe his lack of true feelings for me has led to him seeing me as unimportant and disposable to our kids. The reason I feel like this is because of his and his wife Haley's treatment of me. We had been divorced for a number of weeks when Nick started bringing Haley to our kids' school events. A couple of weeks? Alright, he was definitely cheating. We met at a school play and they commented that Haley was getting ready for her role as a new mom. I thought they meant that she was pregnant, but no, they meant that she would be mom to my kids. Haley wanted to hold my youngest, and Nick told me they needed some mother-son bonding time because she hadn't met the kids by this point. Within weeks of this, they wanted me to delegate some tasks to Haley, like school pickup and drop-off or taking the oldest to dance. My kids barely knew her. They weren't living together at this point. Nick told me it was important to make space for Haley as a mom. I told him she would be a stepmom, but I'm their mom. Nick's response was that at their house, Haley would be mom, and the kids could do with a mom and dad parental unit instead of divorced parents. He said that he knew Haley would be a better mom than I ever could be. Afterwards, Haley would call me a B word whenever she saw me because I said that she would be a stepmom and not mom. She said I was so insecure if I couldn't handle taking second place to her. Nick took me back to court to ask for primary custody and was denied. I went back with proof that they were trying to push me out. Nick even tried to remove me from the school contact list and put Haley there instead of me. This was all before they married. Nick was removed from legal decision-making after that stunt, and he was told to be careful with how they approached parent-teacher conferences and doctor's appointments, because they had to share all that with me. So they did, but it came with hostility. And when they finally got married, they booked a date that fell on my parenting time. And after back and forth, the kids were not at their wedding because I was expected to give up a week with my kids and not get that time back so they could be with them for the wedding and initially after the wedding. Nick tried to bring the courts into it to take custody from me, but the judge said that I had been reasonable in my offers for compromise and Nick rejected them. The kids call her Haley. This bothers Nick and Haley. The kids prefer me to the two of them, which Nick and Haley have tried to say is because of alienation and not because they put the kids in the middle when they try to encourage them to call Haley mom, or when they say the kids should tell me they want to spend Mother's Day with Haley and not me. Apparently, Nick and Haley have been trying to have children together for several years. I'm not sure of her diagnosis, but Nick said that she's sterile and then said that she's infertile. They're not able to have biological children together. Nick told me all this via our co-parenting app and requested a month with the kids for them to go and visit Haley's family in Canada. I said no. Nick pushed, and I forwarded the details of our parenting time split and the wording to say neither parent is obligated to give them up. I saw them in person last week at a show for my youngest. The kids did not hug Haley. Nick and Haley then accused me of not being supportive of them and Haley's relationship with the kids, and that all those years of infertility should have helped me find some compassion and understanding and make me willing to help them. I dismissed it. I don't feel like I owe them this. I just want to check if people think that I behaved improperly. Legally, I'm A-okay, but I'm not asking for legal advice. So these two people basically treat you as their mortal enemy, insulting you and stomping over your rights, and now you're supposed to, show them sympathy, give them support? Why? How is this supposed to be your problem? Honestly, I think it's a blessing that she's infertile. These two don't seem like very good people, and I don't think that she would make a good mother. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving them 3 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for not letting a kid eat my food? The other day, I was at the mall with my boyfriend and our 2 kids. We were sitting eating a bag of roasted chestnuts when this 10-year-old kid starts hovering around us. Now, I admit I'm not the biggest fan of any kid that doesn't belong to me, so this alone was already annoying me slightly, but I still smiled to him. Then, this boy calls my 6-year-old son over and whispers in his ear, and I knew that it was about the chestnuts. My son nods yes, and the boy comes up to me and reaches for a chestnut. I moved the bag and said, "No, you have to ask your parents." My boyfriend got upset, called me rude, and handed a chestnut to the boy. The boy leaves, and I tell my boyfriend that he shouldn't have done that you don't just give food to a strange kid. The boy then hovers back around us and, without a word, snatches 2 chestnuts from the bag that my boyfriend was now holding. I stand up and said very firmly, "Sorry, but you can't take our stuff like that. Go to your parents." He put them back and ran off. I think this kid had no manners, and I wasn't going to let my kids think it's okay to accept anything from strangers, or that it's okay to be pressured into sharing. My boyfriend doesn't agree and thinks the kid trusted us because we had kids ourselves. He thinks I was just selfish. Am I the butthole? OP, your boyfriend's being really dumb and, quite frankly, stupid because nut allergies are like a world-famous issue. So giving a strange kid a nut could have literally killed him? Plus, on top of that, there's the pure principle of the matter, which is it's your nuts and you get to decide who they go to. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your boyfriend 1 out of 5. Am I the butthole for having my mother yell at me for having intercourse with my girlfriend in my own apartment when we're both 26 years of age? So I'm a 26-year-old guy who lives with my 26-year-old girlfriend in an apartment that I pay for. We've been together for 3 years and our relationship is great. We're both working professionals, fully independent, and like any normal couple, we even have an active sex life. Enter my mother, who's 54. She's always been a little overbearing, but since I moved out when I started dating my girlfriend, I thought things had gotten better. Apparently, I was wrong. Last weekend, my mom came over to drop off some homemade food, which was nice, I'll give her that. I told her she could stop by after 4 p.m. since my girlfriend and I were having a lazy morning, But of course, she decided to show up 2 hours early with her spare key, which she has for emergencies. Well, my girlfriend and I were in the bedroom, clearly busy, when we heard my mother banging on the bedroom door. She was shouting my name, saying things like, "I know what you're doing in there. Have some respect." I scrambled to throw on some clothes, went out, and asked her what the hell she was doing here unannounced. She started yelling at me about how it was disgusting and inappropriate to be doing that while guests are over. I reminded her that this is my apartment. She wasn't supposed to be here yet. We're two consenting adults. She was having none of it. She called me disrespectful and said that I had no manners. And even told my girlfriend that she should be ashamed, which, what the hell? My girlfriend just walked out of the room, grabbed her keys, and left because she wasn't dealing with that nonsense. I ended up arguing with my mom for 10 more minutes before telling her to leave and return the spare key. She refused at first, but I stood my ground until she finally handed it over. She left in a huff and later texted me saying she was deeply disappointed in how I spoke to her. Now, my dad and sister are both telling me I was too harsh and that I shouldn't have put her in that situation. I argued that she put herself in that situation by showing up unannounced and barging into my home. Where do all these morons come from? How can someone be so devoid of basic logic and common sense? And then on top of that, the hypocrisy if she says how you have no respect when she's the one disrespecting your time and boundaries and your own apartment. OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your mom 1.5 out of 5. Am I the butthole for giving my daughter $60 a week, but my son nothing? I'm a 45-year-old woman with 2 kids, a 17-year-old girl and 15-year-old boy. We moved earlier this year to be closer to my parents, as my parents' health is declining. My daughter was excited about the move, but my son has struggled to adjust. Due to the move, my job shifted to hybrid, and I needed a work-from-home setup. My bedroom is too small, and the only options were the lounge or one of the kids' rooms during school hours. I proposed this to them. My son flat out refused. He said, "No way in hell." But my daughter offered her room and half joked about charging me rent for the space. I thought it was fair, as I get a $20 per day work-from-home allowance. I agreed to give it to her if she was okay with me setting up a small office in her room. I work from 8:30 to 5 p.m., and she usually starts homework right after I finish, so it's worked out well. Now, the issue is my son is pissed that his sister is getting $60. I don't do regular allowances, just canteen money, $10 a week, and other needs as they come up. I told him he had the same opportunity, and now he's out of luck. He got angry and brought up the move, saying he never gets to see his friends. I told him I understood his feelings, but said that I wouldn't tolerate being spoken to so badly. He then started an argument with his sister too, going in on her for being an opportunistic B-word, and she called him a whiny little butthole. To cool off, I offered one of them the option to stay at their grandparents for the night. Not as punishment, but to break the tension. My son opted to go, and while dropping him off, my mom told me that I was favoring my daughter and I should be paying them equally. My dad disagreed, saying my son had the chance and was out of luck. Am I the butthole? A lot of people in the comments are saying OP is the butthole because it's unfair, which is dumb in my opinion because that's just how life works. Sometimes life is unfair. When I was a teenager and I wanted money, I just went and got a job because that's how that works. And some people are calling out the fact that the son is having trouble adjusting, but everyone had to move, including OP and the sister. I think the son in this story is just being an angsty teenager. Also, some people are saying that it's not that much of an inconvenience to the daughter, that $20 a day is way more than the, 1 to 2 hours at the end of the day that OP is imposing. But when you're 17, having a parent in your room all the time is uncomfortable. So I'm solidly on OP's side. I'm giving her 0 out of 5 buttholes. That was rSlash Am I the Butthole? And if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.